Hello, I'm Rebecca Weber. You're watching Better for America, presented by AMAC, the Association of Mature American Citizens. We have a terrific episode coming up for you in just a moment, so don't go anywhere.
Your journey as a modern-day hero starts right now. Stand with AMAC and let's show the world the power of true heroism in action. Visit amac.us/hero to join AMAC. The time to act is now. Be the hero our country needs.
Joining me now is the host of one of the top podcasts in America, The Megyn Kelly Show. Megyn, welcome to the show, and thank you for joining me today.
Rebecca, it's my pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Megyn, it's a delight. I really am thrilled that you're here. Now, you have been very vocal about your position on the trans ideology. We see this sprouting up everywhere these days. Recently, you said it's beyond time to stand up. Now, AMAC members, over 2 million strong, are very concerned about their children and their grandchildren's well-being. They're concerned about what their children are being taught in schools. They're worried that their children and grandchildren are being silently transitioned. And they see how unfairly girls and women are treated when we encourage biological men to play in women's sports. Now, you were an early proponent of using preferred pronouns over a decade ago, saying that you really didn't see the harm if here or there a trans person used the ladies' bathroom. Megyn, what changed?
Oh, yeah. I mean, first of all, God bless AMAC and what you're doing, because there is such a need for this organization. So I personally am just so thankful that it's there and that you're getting more and more members and that people are finding a place with others with like-minded, strong values and an interest in getting America back to normalcy and away from this craziness. I have to be honest. My sins were even worse in this lane, Rebecca. When I had my brief stint at NBC, I had on kids and promoted. I mean, I wasn't like pushing it, but like fronted their stories about how they were a boy, but they thought they were a girl, so they were going to live as a girl. And, you know, there was like a group of trans kids, which is no longer really a thing I believe in. I, for very long, believed that there was no harm and that this was a very, very small slice of America that needed to not be bullied and to have our support. That's how I saw it. And the reason I felt this way is because I had a very early introduction to the trans thing when someone in my extended family went from male to female. And this was back when no one did this. And it was a scandal and it was very hard for the family and we were all shocked by it. But I did see how this person got severely bullied, out of jobs and so on. And I just felt like this is very wrong. This was somebody, though, Rebecca, who is more along the lines of like the traditional trans issue, if you can say, where this person was born with it. They suffered with it their whole life. It wasn't a social contagion in their case. And I do have empathy for people who go through that. The kid thing is entirely different, as is the autogynephile thing, which is not this God-given thing where from an early age you feel genuinely you're in the wrong body. Those are people who get off and just dressing in women's clothes, and they want to be around your kid while they do it, or you as a woman. So that's totally different. And what's happened since my, empathetic Megyn Kelly, let's host these kids and talk about it version, is this thing has exploded. It's everywhere. It is a social contagion now. And not just that, they're abusing children. It's actually evil what they're doing to them. And they're demanding the rest of us go along with it. They're insisting that we look at a man who we know is a man and use the word she. It's really no longer a matter of choice, even under the law in some states, which is unconstitutional. And they're hurting people. They're hurting girls in sports. They're hurting women in bathrooms and locker rooms. They're everywhere. It's not a matter of a tiny sliver of society that we should just kind of try to be respectful of and not bully. They're bullying us.
They are.
And so a year or so ago, I did a long show on my own mea culpa and my revisiting of all of those decisions and how the world has shifted and how I think others who are empathetic like I was really need to understand that empathy these days means something else. We need to be empathetic toward the women and the girls who are getting bullied every day.
Yeah, AMAC hosted a boot camp for boomers in Bucks County, Pennsylvania. We had January Littlejohn, an amazing woman, a hero really, who shared her personal story that her daughter at 13 was silently being transitioned in the school. And because of COVID, when she had her daughter at home, it was revealed, her daughter shared with her what was happening. Fast forward today, her daughter is good. She was recently at the prom. She's no longer struggling.
Thank God.
But it was years of fighting back. And really, what was very revealing, Megyn, was January said they're targeting children who have, ADHD or autism, some of the children who are struggling in other ways. And they're really, it seems, a very evil thing. And our members see this as an attack on the family. When you tell a child that they don't have to tell their mother or father, and you actually position, you give more rights to a child than you do to the parents who love that child and know what's best for that child, it seems just, common sense that something is very wrong. And our members are really, really upset about it. They're very furious what's happened with Title IX.
Yes.
It seems that Democrats are turning the original intent of Title IX really on its head. And Joe Biden, his recent revisions of Title IX and the regulations there essentially changes sex-based rights, as I understand it. Again, our members see this as an attack on the family, and you call this an abomination. What should our listeners really know about the regulation changes to Title IX?
What happened this month by the Biden administration is huge news. And the only reason most people haven't heard about it is because the mainstream media is completely ignoring it. Yeah. Even in the right-wing media, it hasn't been covered nearly enough, in my judgment. I don't know that people fully understand what happened. With the stroke of his pen through his agency, the Department of Education, which is a bunch of unelected bureaucrats, he's changed the definition of women. He's made it so that Title IX, which previously supported and protected girls and women, now protects men and boys pretending to be women and girls as well, which means their rights effectively trump our rights. Yeah. And so what this does as a practical matter is it allows men and boys into our locker rooms, into our bathrooms, and those of our girls as a right. So if your daughter is getting changed for 7th grade field hockey and a boy comes into her locker room and says, I'm a girl and I want to change in here too, there's nothing she can do about it, thanks to this administrative agency rule that never was voted on by any of our lawmakers. P.S. It couldn't pass. The Republicans would stop this had it had to go through the House, which is why he did this via agency fiat. Not just that, but it's completely changed the due process procedures for, usually it would be young men who get accused of sexual misconduct on campuses. Under Obama, he took away all the due process rights virtually of young men who get accused. No trial, no right to cross-examination, no right to see the evidence behind you, no subpoena power over the accuser's texts or emails, and virtually no right of appeal. Once you get convicted by these kangaroo courts, you're done. You get expelled, you're labeled a sex offender, your life is over. And even if they unearth damning texts for the woman accusing you later when you sue in federal court, the school, 9 times out of 10, will not reverse its decision. They say, we don't care. This happened in this case at Amherst. Well, Trump undid it, and he restored due process rights for men. He didn't make it so that women can't win or get a fair hearing or get abused again. He just restored due process rights. And Biden just undid it again. This is just one of the many things riding on this next election.
Yeah, I really appreciated a recent tweet that you put out. Do not ever let any Democrat tell you they care about women's rights ever again, is what you posted. And I just so appreciate that you did that. They've got to stand up for our little ones. And if not them, then we must, as parents, first, as Americans, we must stand up to protect our family. It is absolutely insane, I think, what's happening. And
can I just say one other thing on that, Rebecca? It's that, like, the Democrats call themselves the party of women's rights. Why? Because of abortion. It's all about abortion. And I understand that that is an important issue for some women, in particular on the left. But there are some Republicans who are pro-choice too. Okay, fine, if that's your issue. But let me tell you something. They're so concerned about a woman's right to end her pregnancy and kill her unborn baby that they've forgotten about the rights that are afforded to those babies once they're born, especially if they're girls. And this administration doesn't care at all about the actual born live children who happen to be
Right.
female. I mean, at all. So some thought needs to be given to them too. And I'm sick of the Democrats trying to say they're super pro women because of this one thing they want women to be able to do.
Yes, that's right. I was thinking last night, every other day, Kamala Harris is putting out a post about, how her and Biden are going to make sure that, women can have an abortion. But it's so extreme. And I think that's what people need to talk about is the extreme, that they want abortion unrestricted right up until the 9th month, right up until due date, and that every Democrat voted, don't keep the baby alive if that baby is born due to a botched abortion. So I think, those who believe in life and believe in the family and believe in God need to be able to stand up and say, hey, this is extreme. This is not what the majority of American people want. I believe it was over 70% of Americans say abortion should not be, we're not for abortion in the 3rd trimester. That makes sense to me. So again, we're dealing with an administration that seems on every level to be very extreme. And I just don't know what the goal is of this really overzealous push to destroy the identity of these youngsters. I mean, topless trans people on the White House lawn and labeling Easter Sunday as Trans Visibility Day. Megyn, do you think that this will impact how people will vote in November? Are families fed up and really maybe seeing the light?
I hope so. I don't know. I mean, I would have thought that it would have impacted the midterm elections, but it didn't. I
Right.
would have thought the rampant crime would have impacted the midterm elections, but it didn't. I do think abortion has been a big motivator to the left, and it's overcome some of these issues that motivate more the right on election day. But I don't know, Rebecca. I think there's like a certain debauchery that is taking over our country right now, and it's very unsettling. And it's not to say it will go away if we reelect President Trump or we elect a Republican instead of a Democrat, but at least it wouldn't be so front and center and celebrated. Like you said, the topless trans person on the White House lawn. How dare they allow that to happen? It's more widespread than that, though. It's cultural. It's one of the reasons why, just to name a couple, I railed one day about Chrissy Teigen, who went to the White House Correspondents' Dinner where she sees the president showing her underwear. Her dress showed her underwear. Like, have some respect for yourself and this country's president. It's one of the reasons why I really don't have much time or love for the Kim Kardashians of the world, who engage in these massive body morphs that they aren't honest about and set this completely unattainable, inhuman standard. And more we see our little girls getting themselves cut up to look like that. Just today, we did a story on this Frankenstein clinic down in Texas, in which they're doing operations like of a 27-year-old girl who wanted all of her body parts, her sex parts, removed to become unisex, including her belly button. And they did it. It's actual dehumanization. And our kids are going to have to walk around and deal with these people, on a going basis. So I'm not sure what stops that. I do think going to church, re-injecting religion into the public square in a way that's okay with the Constitution, which would give it a wide berth, by the way, as it used to be in this country.
Sure.
Restoring the family and family dinners. Some of the gas pedal off on the crazed obsession with getting into the right college and doing 10 sports and being just spend time with each other and with your friends. Get off the internet, the obsession with social media and devices. Go outside, smell the air, take a walk in the woods. I think some of these sort of common sense things could help on the cultural battles even more than the right president.
Very well said. I entirely agree. I think we need to really put the focus on the family. It's really an incubator for freedom and to teach our children well and to do all of those great things that you suggest. But if the family is under attack, women are not supported, fewer and fewer people are having children, getting married, and that kind of thing. It really makes you wonder what the future of America could look like if we don't reverse course soon. I wanted to get your take on Joe Biden and who he is today. You had interviewed him many years back, and it's so obvious to everyone how much he has declined. Recently, he was reading off the teleprompter again. doing things that are just clearly he's not all there. But I wanted to get your perspective on who he really is. Decline aside, is the man that you see today the same man that you interviewed years ago?
I mean, not at all. I interviewed him in 2018 when his book came out. And to look back and see the clips is really remarkable. I mean, the difference in just that span of time, so almost 6 years, is remarkable. He's a shadow of his former self. And look, I always contrast this. It's not an age thing, because I look at Alan Dershowitz, who continues to teach me every day on his podcast about, I'm getting a con law class from Harvard Law. He's still brilliant and totally sharp. Unfortunately, that's not the case for Joe Biden. And it's obvious that gaffe with the 4 more years pause that he committed in front of the union
It's not funny, but
yesterday in D.C. It was jarring. It's still jarring to see him incapable of understanding basic instructions in a teleprompter. He's becoming Ron Burgundy. He can't even read and I understand why his team does it. They know he can't ad-lib it. He cannot ad-lib even 4 more years or just a basic speech to a union, which, let's face it, that's the Democrats' bread and butter. Joe Biden's been talking to them for 60 years. How could he not? Okay. But he can't. So I blame him. I blame his team. And I blame his wife. I think my husband would tap me on the shoulder and say, honey, it's time for us to go on a cross-country trip by camper. We're going to spend some time together, or we're going to go to Provence and taste some wine. But we're not going to keep ourselves in the public eye or in a leadership position, never mind as the president. So I'm not exactly sorry for him. I don't actually feel sorry for him. I feel sorry for us that we're in this position. The country doesn't want 4 more years of Joe Biden. Not even the Democrats want 4 more years of Joe Biden, but he wouldn't step aside. And now we're stuck with him. And depending on the day, I think Trump will win, but it could go the other way. So depending on the day, it looks likely or not, but it's not a lock for Team Trump.
Yeah.
And God only knows what we're going to be looking at 4 years from now.
I do want to talk a little bit about what's happening to Trump. You had practiced law as a litigator, and I just love your podcast, too. Everyone should go and listen to the Megyn Kelly podcast. It's terrific. You've been talking a whole lot about these issues, but Trump is really being attacked on all sides, and it's unprecedented. For example, look at the E. Jean Carroll case. Now, how did they even prosecute Trump from an alleged incident that supposedly happened decades ago, over 20 years ago? Shouldn't that have passed the statute of limitations? And then, this is what I'm thinking, and then when we look into it, we find out that E. Jean Carroll and Roberta Kaplan did the lobbying to pass a new law to suspend the statute of limitations for a year in New York. And then after it passed, the first person to file a lawsuit at midnight, the day that it passed, was Roberta Kaplan. I mean, explain how that could happen, and people wouldn't say, wait a minute, this is targeted. This is, election interference.
It's New York. It's blue state New York. And I think everyone around them thought, right on, great idea. No one had pause about the misuse of the system. E. Jean Carroll was surrounded by political operatives, same as Christine Blasey Ford, by the way. And they did change the law in New York State to allow her to go after Trump. Now, not to actually sue him or get after him criminally, because they didn't want to go there, but for her to sue him for sexual assault, and then later, when he denied it, with some colorful terms, for defamation. And now she's sitting on the Rachel Maddow show laughing out loud about how she's going to buy Rachel a penthouse. She's going to buy Rachel Maddow France. You want France? I'll buy you Paris. With Trump's money, because of an alleged sexual assault she claims happened 30 years ago, which is so unfair. There is a reason we have a statute of limitations on these claims, and it's because no man could defend himself 30 years later. What's he going to say? I didn't do it. I don't know her. I don't know where I was that day. But if you accuse a guy within 2 years, he can go back and check his iPhone, his calendar, talk with his friends, his coworkers. He can establish when and where he was. This is grossly unfair. This whole lawfare campaign against Trump is unfair. And my only hope with it is that it's going to backfire, that they're making a martyr out of the man that's going to drive even milquetoast Republicans to the polls in November because they want to send a message that this can't happen here in the United States.
Yeah. And Megyn, before we let you run, I know you're busy. Can you give us an update on the Fani Willis case, where we're at there?
Yeah, she's dodged a bullet. She and the lover claim their affair is over, but I've got my doubts. And Nathan Wade's been booted off of the case because he couldn't keep his hands off Fani. And she proceeds. She's going right ahead with her case against Trump, though he's now filed an appeal on the judge's refusal to disqualify her. And it only takes one judge in the Georgia Court of Appeals to accept that appeal. So he might get it. This is a, right-leaning state, and it's a right-leaning court. So it's possible he'll get it. And if you read the judge's opinion, Judge Scott McAfee, denying the motion to dismiss her, disqualify her, he's begging, Rebecca, for the appellate court to do the job for him. This is an elected judge who's about to, face a run. And he's basically saying the odor of mendacity is still in this courtroom. She behaved in too many improper ways for me to list here, including possible perjury, which is he alludes to. And I think what he's trying to do is say, could you please help me, you people up there above me on the appellate court. So I think Trump's got a fighting chance still. But listen, this case is not getting tried before November, which is really the only thing that matters for now. If he can get into office, for sure the 2 federal prosecutions go away, and then we'll have to see about Atlanta. New York will be done.
There you go. Megyn, tell our members how they can tune in and listen to your shows and maybe follow you on social media.
The podcast is free wherever you get your podcasts, so you can listen to it, on any service, Spotify, Apple, etc. You can listen to us live on SiriusXM from 12 to 2 on Triumph Channel 111. Or you can go to youtube.com/Megyn Kelly, and that's a fun way to take in the show because you can see it. So lots of options, and if you want to follow me on social, I'm on Twitter or X at Megyn Kelly, and Instagram, and I don't know, all of them. The ones that I actually post myself on are Insta and Twitter. That's where I do my own messaging.
Excellent. Megyn Kelly, thank you again for being here. This was really terrific, and I especially enjoyed the commentary. I do hope to have you back.
Anytime, Rebecca. Thank you so much, and thank you for supporting the show and the mission. I think we're completely like-minded, and you go.
Amen. God bless you.
All the best. You too.
Hi, I'm Kevin Sorbo. Now, many of you remember me as Hercules facing incredible odds for the world that he cherished. But today, I'm stepping into a different role. Not as a mythical hero, but as a fellow American. I'm inviting you to embark on a mission crucial to our nation's future. At this pivotal moment, America stands at a crossroads. Our unity, values, and vision for tomorrow are being tested. It might seem like the weight of the world is too heavy for one person to lift, but history shows us that it's the courage of individuals that has always illuminated the path forward. The call for heroes is more urgent than ever. Not the mythical ones, but real-life individuals like you, ready to uphold what's right, champion truth, and unite in protecting our beloved nation. This is your moment. Your journey as a modern-day hero starts right now. Stand with AMAC and let's show the world the power of true heroism in action. Visit amac.us/hero to join AMAC. Be the hero our country needs.